morning, good afternoon, good evening. This probably looks a little bit different, and I'm going to ask if you can hear me properly, because tonight I'm not streaming off my usual setup. I'm actually using the editing PC tonight, and I set this up a while ago as a way of streaming a bit differently and maybe use this now and again, and tonight felt like a good time to give this a try, because tonight's going to be a bit more lower key. There's not going to be too much jumping around and the usual excitement, but there is a lot to talk about tonight. The background is fake, so it is my background, but it is fake. I'm in front of it with NVIDIA Broadcast. I'm using the original microphone tonight as well, the Rode, so I hope that's working too. I don't know what the levels are like. I'm assuming it's working because I'm not sure. We're even using a different camera. We're using a Sony tonight, a little Sony in fact. This is the ZV-1, so with autofocus tracking. So if I put my hand there, it should focus on my hand, and if I move my hand away, it should focus there. So, yeah, why? Because I was doing some stuff, and I'm in the mood to try something a little bit different tonight. I wanted to give this a try, and I didn't get a chance to do it last week, so I thought I would give it a chance this week. Oh, there's a hair on the front of the microphone. That's badly placed. Let's get that off. There we go. There's a hair on my muff. So, yes, and don't worry, we do have all of the usual stuff. We still have the desktop view as well, if I find the button. There we go. There you are. You can see me there. Sorry, the reason I'm looking up is I have a screen above a screen, and that screen up there that you can't see is the screen that has what I'm looking at, OBS and everything on, and this screen is the main screen. And I sort of set this up as a way to do things a bit differently every now and again. I've got the chat on the side. Ooh, my cup of tea is arriving as well. One moment. It's time to grab that. There we go. My cup of tea has arrived. So I thought I would do this a little bit differently tonight, and we will do it on this one. So, tonight, let me get to the right. I don't have my Stream Deck, so I don't have my button presses I usually have. I'm missing a Stream Deck on this setup. But okay, we're going to get through this one. Do it a little bit differently. So tonight, we're going to talk about the Edge T3 digital FPV system, because we finally know a little bit more about what it is. And the reason I say finally is there has been loads of videos coming out of China on it, and you're starting to see more videos in the UK as well. And finally, someone has taken the thing apart properly, and now we understand a little bit more about it. It is Wi-Fi based. That is now confirmed. There's been suspicions either way. I was actually hoping it wasn't, based on the specifications, and I was going to talk about later what I thought it might be. But it is Wi-Fi based, but that isn't to say it's OpenIPC. That isn't to say it's Ruby. All we know right now is the hardware, so we're going to talk a bit about that. We are going to talk about the tariffs and the sort of things that we're starting to see. We're not going to spend too much time on that, but we are now starting to see brands even cancel orders for people, and this is going to cause a few problems, to say the least. We're going to talk a little bit about this new chipset that we were expecting. Maybe this was, and I'll be honest, maybe a bit disappointed in that, but that doesn't mean something else won't use it, and that doesn't mean we might not see this pop up in anything else. And I'm going to sort of just try to explain a little bit as was explained to me, because there are far cleverer people than me that explain this. But what the big difference is on this new chipset, because Artisan have gone a little bit the DJI route, but actually, in some ways, they've gone a step further, which is very, very cool. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Cavera here because I've been sent one to take a look at. And we'll talk about that as well. Desktop CNC. Could this finally be a desktop CNC that allows me to make frames? Could it be? Could it be? Let's wait and see. It's been an interesting week, and I'm going to be straight with everyone now. At the moment, I'm not going to comment on anything to do with the content that was made this week until I fully understand what the situation is. All I am going to say is this. You will have noticed that content was taken down, and that was nothing to do with the brands involved. That was to do with the other creator, and it was done because I felt it was the right thing to do based on that person and nothing else. With regards to everything else, again, there is so much I want to say, but it is better I don't. But I am going to talk a little bit about change at the end because I'm going to be making a little bit of a change for a while on the channel. And I'm going to talk what I mean about that. There is, and look, I want to be clear. None of this has changed because I think I've done something wrong or I was wrong or I said something I shouldn't. This is far more complex than that. But let's wait. I want to see where things end up. Could even be in court, but let's wait and see. So let's get on with the show and let's talk about this. And it is this T3 system because obviously this appeared on the market a few weeks ago. I have one coming. They've actually sent me one, but I seem to be the last person in the world that they've sent one to. I do have one coming, and it's been shipped, so I should get it this week. That means I'm going to finally be able to take a look at this properly. And what's been interesting about this is the marketing material has sort of implied this is, I'm not going to say more than it is, but when you read a lot of this, some of this we felt was around maybe some stuff from Artisan with LTE, maybe not, but it isn't. We now know what it is. It is Wi-Fi based. 2 videos for this have gone up this week. One by Giz FPV or Giz FPV. I don't really know how to say his name. Sorry if I got it wrong with Giz. He's posted a flight video. I don't know. Does anyone know this creator? And if you do, please. Posting videos like this in the UK is dodgy ground. Just be careful, okay? Be careful is all I'm going to say, okay? The CAA are happy to go after people, and you need to be careful. There's a real reason I don't show stuff like this. But look, just be careful. So, obviously, he's put up some really nice flight footage of this aircraft in use with this system. Image quality looks great. It does look great. It really does look nice. I've got no complaints on image quality. Very interesting behavior as the signal starts to drop and it basically just falls off a cliff. What this basically shows is there's very little there. It just stopped at that point. And then it comes back. If you notice, it doesn't have that fall off like DJI and Avatar has, where it steps down through the bit rates. You can see the bit rates go down, but it certainly doesn't try to hold on to the image. It hits a cliff point and falls off. You can see it here, and it just drops. And this was a big tell, if I'm honest. When we saw this, this now really did say to me, this isn't what we've seen from the likes of Artisan. There you go. It's gone. It smells of Wi-Fi. And it's not that this is an inherent behavior of Wi-Fi. What it smells of is a not heavily developed link from a signal control perspective. There's a point where it doesn't have all of that extra features that Avatar and DJI does, where it can just compress and compress the image down, even to macro blocks. Literally, if you look at Avatar when the image goes down and the V1 DJI system when the image goes down, you literally see the macro blocks. You can see it, the compression dragging it down. Whereas this just stopped. And there's always going to be a stop. There's a stop on Avatar. There's a stop on DJI. It's quite hard in this flight. It's a shame he wasn't looking at land when it stopped, because when it stopped, you didn't get like a bearing. You sort of do, but it would have been nice to see. You could see there, it's moving, and then boop, a judder, and then gone. And there is very little warning on this. There really isn't a lot of warning to say, hey, it's over, it's gone, and then boom. Now, there's been lots of info online, and we finally have a teardown. Someone has finally taken this apart. It's Cinematic FPV QD channel. Thank you, my friend. I'm annoyed, actually, you beat me to it now, because I was actually wondering if I'd be the first after how long it's taken. I know that nail. But, yeah, this obviously is the Wi-Fi. Now, we knew the module looked like this from the image. It isn't quite the straight same module. So if I just play it a second, it is a slightly different version. It's definitely not quite the same, but he does take it apart. But it is the same chipset. So you can see the two modules there. Similar, but it doesn't have that link cable. I don't know if it's by another manufacturer. But there you can see, and we actually see the real tech I see on there. There you go. So we know it is absolutely Wi-Fi. And here's the next really interesting thing. We've now officially seen the chipset, which is the Star SSC 378DE. This is quite interesting. We believe this is a newer version of the SS338Q. It's slightly newer. There isn't a lot of information on this chipset out there. The comments that were put to me is slightly newer. They talk about in their marketing material some AI stuff, and if you actually read on SigmaStar's website, they do talk about some AI-based image stuff in some of their newer chipsets, so that sort of feeds into this. This maximum 120 bitrate thing is nonsense. That's just crazy. That's just not right, frankly. It's just not right. But we've now finally got to see inside, which is good. He also takes the VRX module apart. I'm really interested to understand a lot more about the system, because we still don't know the RF fundamentals on this. Does this use a two-way link? I don't know. And we're going to have to look at this on the spectrum analyzer. What is it? Is it one way? Is it two way? How is it behaving? There's a lot to understand on this. It's not just about the image quality. But what I think is fair in saying is We know the hardware is Wi-Fi based. We do not know what the software is. We have no idea what the software is at all. Yes, there is a lot of speculation of people saying, oh, it's Ruby based, or it's WFNG based. We don't know until the software has been torn down and looked at. There is talk this was in development for like 3 years. I don't know if that's true. We're going to have to wait and see. What I will say, though, is it does feel a lot more polished than OpenIPC. I'm not going to say more polished than Ruby, because the more you dig into Ruby, Ruby's actually really quite polished. And yes, I complained like hell about the menus and the OSD images, but if you actually get into everything else, Ruby is really polished from a menu perspective. If anything, I'd actually say Ruby is a bit ahead of this from a menu perspective. So, yeah, look, it's interesting. But something to note on this is the cost isn't amazing. And for that cost, you could get an Avatar VRX and a VTX. This isn't super, super cheap. And as a result of that, you have to class this a bit differently to, say, the Runcam VRX. And maybe the other bits. But look, it's a very, very interesting product. I am looking forward to testing it. I really am looking forward to testing it. It's not a perfect solution, though, by any means. It's a fixed wing product, that's for sure. The cost is competitive. It's not available to buy now on the website. They've actually ran out. $279 for the full kit, though, is... I think that's tough. I genuinely think that's tough ground. Not much more, you'll get an Avatar kit. Not much more, you'll get an Avatar kit. But there's a lot to like here, and... It's funny. I said about 6 months ago we're going to see a slew of cheap hardware being smashed out of China, and that's what we're seeing. I'm really interested now. It's now about the software. Is it something new? Because if it is, someone's done a very, very good job from what we've seen. It needs work, but someone has done a very good job. You know, you cannot complain about the image quality, especially when you look at this flight here. It looks all right. But recovery looks good as well. When you look at his video, it seems to recover well. It needs better handling of the low bitrate warning system. It's not so bad that it just falls off a cliff. You just need to know when it's going to fall off a cliff. All of the reports so far are around 5 megabits a second. So that is your warning. But I think it probably needs a bit of tweaking around that. If you take this, though, as a ground zero, it looks all right. But... just note, this is high and slow. And I have to be clear, when I first reviewed Avatar and discussed it, and I was highly critical, that was in a quad situation. Avatar looked okay in this scenario. It looked fine. So I do think we have to be careful. This could look absolutely horrific at low-level quad-based flying. And that's what I'm going to be testing. So we have to be fair. I I'm going to look at it from a quad perspective. Also, do note, this is highly compressed. There isn't a lot of detail in this. Jiz posted a video with it on a quad. Has he? Has he now? Which is the one with it on a quad? Is it this one? Ah, yes, here we go. Sorry, his first video was on a quad. I showed his first video last week. That's right, it was his. It doesn't look bad. Okay, there is smearing. And what is interesting, Giz, sorry. It's got that step-in effect, and I want to see it for myself that I complained about in OpenIPC. It doesn't look bad, but this step-in is... we need to see how it feels. That's why we talked about his video last week. But yes, so look, really good, really interesting. It's nice to finally see a proper design and a proper piece of hardware. Someone's done thermal testing already. Software looks okay. I genuinely hope this doesn't turn out to be some fork of another project that's been tweaked. I just hope it isn't. I hope someone's done something new. It will be good for the industry if someone's done something new, even based around Wi-Fi. It really will. But all we can do is wait and see. That's all we can do. Okay, so that's the T3. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement around the T3. I think mine's coming Wednesday or Thursday. And it's not just this. There's stuff appearing everywhere now. There really, really is stuff starting to appear everywhere. Yeah. It's interesting times. Okay. Obviously, yesterday, I put out the video about DJI O4 and the issues on that. And the reason I put that video out was we've had a lot of people bring up the questions on this. For those who don't know, I brought up about the fact that this 15 megabits issue is plaguing people. And it is a pain in the bum, this really is. There we go. So it's this video here for those who haven't seen it. And this video is a complete pain in the bum. And it is this issue. And whilst I called this 15 megabits, it's actually 15, 16, or 31. It actually goes to 16 and drops to 15. I was going to call it 16, but it's better to call it 15. But it's actually 15 stroke 31 megabits a second issue. Because it's 15 megabits a second when it's stuck in the 10 megs carrier, and it's 31 megabits a second when it's stuck in the 20 megahertz carrier. And the very basics around this issue is, and I'm not convinced I explained it enough. It's as simple as auto mode is broke when using the ham file. That's in essence. Auto mode doesn't work properly when using the ham file on Goggles 2 and Integra. And it's that simple. I hope DJI fix it. They haven't. We're going to have to wait and see. What basically happens is it gets stuck in 10 megahertz bandwidth in auto. And that's what's happening. And it's only when you're using the ham file. There is a real hint of this. So when you look in the other footage that I show, if disarmed, you are only seeing 1 megabit a second, you know you've got the ham file and the issue because it's locked at 1 megabit a second. when you're not in that mode and it's working properly, let me go back to here. You're now getting 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, let me go. I did the full reset. That's it working properly. And then it actually goes down to 3, 4, 5 megabits a second. I use auto on DJI extensively. I don't use manual channel modes. The problem with using manual channel modes is you won't automatically drop down the bit rates. The thing to understand with the way DJI works is, in auto, it'll go to 40 megahertz carrier to start, or 60 megahertz carrier with the Goggles 3, but 40 megahertz carrier. Then it will drop to 20 megahertz carrier. Then it'll drop to 10 megahertz carrier, and then it'll drop, if it wants to, down to a 1 megahertz carrier. So as your signal goes, it drops down the carrier bandwidths. It steps down naturally in auto. If you don't use auto, you're going to always be at the bandwidth carrier width, but your bit rate will still drop. And in theory, it won't work as far. Does O3 have this issue? Not as far as I'm aware, Andy. Not as far as I'm aware, mate. Good to see you, Andy, by the way. Yeah. It's a weird one. Auto is the best overall behavior in the end. Now, I'm in the middle of doing lots of testing on race mode at the moment because I'm getting some interesting reports from users. I need to reply to an email. Forgot to do it. The guy's been doing race mode testing and people are having problems. There is a belief that DJI is actually running variable power in race mode, even though you have a manual power setting. It shouldn't be. There is no good reason for that to be the case, but I don't know. I don't know. It's something we need to look at. But so this issue is out there. All we can do is wait to see if DJI fixes it, because we can't do any more. It affects Goggles 2 and Integra. I have had loads of people say, oh, it also affects Goggles 3. I've never seen this on Goggles 3, so I can't comment. I've only seen this on Goggles 2 and Integra. That's the only ones that I've actually seen this one on. Catching up on the chat a minute. I don't have the chat up on the side tonight. It's a big shame, that is. That's a mistake I've made. You guys can't see the chat. We'll be back on the normal one next week. I also didn't have the pre-roll ready on this one either. I need to get this one set up properly. How does it look from your side? It obviously looks fake. Does it actually look okay? Your head clips sometimes. Yeah, I'm using NVIDIA Broadcast. The light in here isn't good. We're using the fake background. It would be better if the background was video, wouldn't it, if it was playing? If I... yeah, I'm just using the fake background at the moment. Otherwise, you would have this. Oh, no, that's not working. Yeah, you'd have this if I didn't use the fake background. So... or what you'd actually have. Oh no, that's not working. That's not working. I can't show you what it should have. Black hole mads, yes. So yeah, the Sony ZV-1. Any updates on the Caddx new product? I don't know anything. Okay, that's not strictly true. I know one thing. What I have been told from Caddx directly by their CEO is that it is not open IPC. It is something they've developed. That's all I know. I don't really want to get into anything else. I was absolutely speculating on what we thought it might be in that other video, and I was clear on that. I am being told it is categorically not open IPC based. I don't know what else that means. All I can tell you is it is categorically not OpenIPC. And that's what their CEO has told me. That's all I can tell you. I will buy it when it comes out and then discuss the product when it comes out as a product. Can't say if it's Wi-Fi. I don't know. All I know is they have said it is not OpenIPC. That's all they've said. And that was part of very long, long conversations, which again, there is so much I'd like to say, but I won't. Maybe it's Edge T3 based. Don't care what it looks like. Not here for that. Or your handsome mug, mate. JB won't stop about what the new setup looks like. I, for one, don't care. I don't quite understand what you mean by that on Orbograph. Rumour HD0 is also working on a V2 system. I don't know. Carl's not told me. What I absolutely know, and this isn't a secret, Carl absolutely had stuff he thought he could do better, and he discussed this on my live stream video, or not live stream, the video I did with him, 2 years ago. Carl is an ASIC designer. It would be madness. Has new cameras, does he? Sorry, I don't know. It would be absolutely madness to expect Carl not to be designing a new ASIC. What that means, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't think we could ever lay any criticism at Carl now if he brought out a V2 and it wasn't compatible. We're so far down the line on HD0. Yeah, and look, truthfully, we can't criticize Cadet for it not being compatible. The criticism was specifically around the upgrade, and I don't want to go there. Have I talked to Trappy? No. Not since I was dealing with that mess. Avatar 2 is Avatar 2 same O4 transmission system? Yes. In essence, basically yes, but there's not an O4E unit in the Avatar 2. It's not as simple as that. It's a fully integrated product. But yes, they are from the same mother. She had twins. One of them came out about a few months later, but both from the same egg. Yeah, it would be good. Yeah. What's with the green screen? I'm using a different machine tonight. I'm using my editing machine rather than my normal setup. My normal setup is I can't move to it because I'm on a completely different PC. I'd actually have to stop streaming and restream to do it. I can't swap over to the other one. I thought tonight I would do it a little bit differently. I wanted to test the streaming setup on the editing PC because I haven't tested it yet. For those who don't know, I built a whole new editing PC a couple of weeks ago. It's amazing. I love it. Genuinely, honestly, I have zero regrets going Intel. It has solved all of my complaints. All of my complaints. Yes, I went with a 285K. Yes, it's got 128 gigs of RAM. Yes, it's got a 5080. But man, does it motor. Man, does it move. The fastest PC I've ever had, honestly. But that Intel QuickSync really does make a difference for editing and Resolve as well. I see you got the H2D. Yes. So the review, I'm not going to call it a review. My first video on the H2D is coming out probably tomorrow. I've been using it all weekend. Sorry, I've been using it all week, to be honest. Just so you guys can see broadcast. If I go into NVIDIA broadcast, so if I just do something a minute. Right, so this is dangerous what I'm about to do. So 1, 2, 3, boom. So that's the actual background. I mean, that's not green screened. So you can actually see now the H2D is there. I can turn around. I am no longer green screened now, though I still look a bit weird. But yes, no longer green screened. So the H2D is there. How much waste did that honey multicolor make? Very little. And here's the key to it, okay? See, because you can use 2 nozzles, it doesn't need purging. It still has to have a prime tower, but for most of that pot, it doesn't need purging because you're not swapping via the AMS. You only need purging if you're swapping via the AMS. Yes, it did swap between the AMS a little bit, but overall, it is a very, very good printer. I will have a dedicated video coming on it in the near future. You can now see the desk, look. So that light in the background's a bit distracting as well. Yeah, it helps a huge amount. Because when I printed the pot, 1 second. So I printed this for my wife as a test. It has a fault. Unfortunately, I had an AMS freaking problem in the middle of the night. Nothing to do with the AMS. I had a spare filament in there, and it bloody snapped. So, I tell you something, some of the bamboo PLAs goes really brittle, just to show you, right? So this stuff, just to show you how brittle this goes, right? So let's focus. Sony, focus. Are you going to focus? No, you're not. So watch, ready? Ah, it bent. That bit's okay. It snapped off when I pulled it. Okay. I'm getting through it now. That's the problem. I'm getting past the ends of it where it was brittle. Yeah, see, it's fine now. But because at the end it was brittle, it snapped off in the AMS. And that wasn't even a colour used. So, as it snapped off, it snapped off at 3 a.m. And it's had to sit then to the morning. But yeah, look, so that's a multicolour print. I've got a brightening feature turned on. Virtual key light. Let me turn the virtual key light off. Now I've gone darker now. Look at that with NVIDIA. Virtual key light. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wait for it. Boom. That works really well, doesn't it? Okay. Now you can see. Boom. You can see the line. Look at the line. The line around the edge where it bloody stopped overnight. But look, that's like a 13-hour print. I printed that for my wife. And it would have had to purge on the black, but the white and the white and the grey were on 2 different nozzles, and the black it had to swap on the AMS. So it would only have had to purge on the swap of the black. Yeah, honey pot. What's actually quite cool about it is the print effect makes it look real. It's very cool. Very cool indeed. That's a big one I did today. That's like a 13-hour print. The seam is down the back. You've obviously always got to have a seam, but the seam is down the back. That would, yeah, agreed. Without and that's pretty much that's the tower, the page tower there. That's pretty much it. It's obviously purged. Couldn't the 2 heads white, black, and then swap? It made more sense to have the terracotta and black in the AMS and the white outside the AMS. So you have the white on one head and then the AMS on the other one and swap in between the 2. There's also this. Let me show you something because this is in the review. This is freaking awesome. This This is a multi-material print with TPU and PETG. So I printed this electrical box with a built-in TPU seal and TPU breakthrough points on the side. So it's got TPU built in. So look, I'm not going to say it's waterproof, but look, that's multi-material printing for you. And I had to modify the design of this, but yeah, look, get my head out of the way. It's trying to focus on me, it is. Yeah, with TPU breakthroughs. Yeah, and then straight in, fully sealed. Here you go. Really cool. Really cool stuff. About my... Let me turn the virtual light back on. About my only complaint, and my only complaint is you can't do 2 TPUs on the two. You can't do TPU on the left-hand head. You can only do TPU on the right-hand head. And it completely makes sense why. I completely understand why. And it's because the left-hand hot end moves up and down and the TPU would bunch rather than retract. I would love it if you could do dual color TPU. That's probably the only complaint. My video is coming tomorrow. I think the printer is phenomenal. I don't think it's for everyone. I honestly don't think it's for everyone. But if you want to do some cool stuff like this, some cool stuff like this hinge I showed last week. I did a multi-material hinge where you can print the center of it in TPU. It's very, very cool. Very cool indeed. Bigger build plate. You can do stuff like that. Absolutely fine. You know, really cool. Really cool indeed. Yes. Look, I would, before we move on from the AMF, I've been looking to try and see if I can buy a Prusa XL. I've actually been looking for used ones and then do the upgrade. But even when you look at the price of the upgrades, it's insane. Even if you bought a single extruder XL, the upgrade kit is crazy money. And I mean crazy money. It is on another level expensive. There are a couple in the UK for sale. And I was tempted. Now, this is the problem, you see, without the virtual background, because now you get this. You don't get me properly. Now you get the bloody window, look. See, this is the problem with the background. And then I need to do that. That does that, but I have to do it manually. So when I was looking even at the upgrades, when you look at a Core XL, it's an expensive printer. You know, if you go to 5 extruders, it's an extra, it's $4,000. Jesus. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think the software lets this printer down. Before taxes, correct, yeah. You could take 500 quid off that for self-assembly. Yes, bamboo prices have gone up. Yeah, no, agreed, in the US. Look, it's on par. If you look, but just look at, right, so you've got 2 heads here with an enclosure. It's a lot of money. And what really lets it down is the software. Unfortunately, it's the software. Everything I've seen, honestly, the bamboo stuff just works. Genuinely, it does. Obviously, pricing on the bamboo is a bit of an issue now. But, and I have to say, look, from the, as long as you understand the H2D can't do two TPUs, and there's two features I really wish it had, but I understand why it doesn't. I wish the AMS could feed either head. So you need two AMSs to feed two heads. I wish it could do dual path, so it can choose which filament to send where, but that is asking a bit much, if I'm honest. I sort of think I'm probably wanting my cake and eat it. And B, I would love to do TPU in both, but I completely understand why. And I was talking to my rep at Bamboo about it, and he explained some stuff to me about the TPU on the left head, and it's not that... It's about reliability. It's not that it can't do it. It's, can you add a feature that's going to work for customers every time? Because it makes complete sense that if you push that head up, if you take rigid filament, when that head on the left side goes up, it's going to push that back into the filament buffer. It's going to push it backwards against the filament buffer spring, but it's going to push it against it. To do that with TPU, even if it's not up against the filament buffer, you've still got the restriction path of the PTFE. What I suspect would probably work almost every time is if you overhead fed it with TPU. And I've done that test on the other side when I was having some issues. If you overhead fed it without PTFE tubes straight down from above into it, I suspect the left would work perfect. And I am going to try it. I'm going to create a profile for that, which thinks it's PLA, but with the TPU profiles, and we're going to give it a try. But can Bamboo give you that feature? Probably not. Or clamp it with a coil. Yeah. I think if you fed them both overhead, you probably wouldn't have a problem with dual TPU. Someone just asked, why does the head move up and down? The hot end. The big issue with dual hot end or nozzle printing is one nozzle catching the print that the other one's using. The reason it moves it out the way, it moves it higher or lower than the existing hot end, so the non-used hot end will not drag on the print, but also they've got enough space then to drop under it the ooze catcher, collision and drips. So the nozzle is going to drip and collision, and that's the thing. And honestly, the mechanism is great. Really seems good. Evening, Carl. But yeah, really good indeed. So I don't think it's for everyone though. I'm trying to try the dual TPU. I don't think I'm going to get a chance this week, but it's on the top of my list. Yeah. Jizz catcher. Yeah. Yes. But no, look, great bit of kit. I also will say this, the last comment on it. The hardware is great. I think there's a lot of opportunity in this printer yet Bamboo haven't even touched on. I think this has got a long future ahead of it. I just feel there's more to come on this printer that we're not seeing yet. I'm just feeling like there's a lot more to come. It's a really cool mechanism, though, the way it moves. For those who haven't seen, it is an awesome mechanism. Before we move on, I'll show you quickly the videos I've got from my review. Let me just find this. It's worth seeing. It's really... It's just very cool. It really is very, very cool. It's not that one. Is it in here or is it in the other folders? No, it's in the other folders. So we want this one. Actually, no, I don't want that one. I want scratch disk, H2D. Let me find the video of it moving. Is it this one? Let me just see. Nope, that's not the video of it moving. I got a few videos so I can show you it swapping. Is it this one? Yes, that's a good one. So this one will be the first one. So I'm going to pause this, go to the desktop. That one. Bring this here so you guys will get to see this now. So just watch this. So if you watch, what it will do is swap and lift the nozzle up. And then it will swap and lift the nozzle down. One of the little downsides is you have to use two hot ends of the same size just now. They are swapped. Hopefully that'll change in the future. And then it puts the ooze protector under it. So only this left one goes up and down. The right one stays still. So it either drops it to below or above the height of the right-hand nozzle. Very cool. Very, very cool indeed, I have to say. Not planning on getting the laser cutter. Not really. Look, I'd be interested in having a look, but I'm really not planning on it at the moment. That's for sure. Okay, so the next thing to talk about is... What is the next thing to talk about? The next thing to talk about is chipsets. And obviously, we are in a period where there's a lot of excitement around new stuff coming from various brands. As I've said, there was a bit of a hope that what we saw from T3 might be based on some new stuff that we'd seen from Artisan. Obviously, Artisan is the chipset that's used in Avatar HD and others. Mostly consumer drones and other stuff. You don't see it too often, but it is around. However, there is a new chipset that they've got, but it's a bit different to what we had before. And probably to explain this, I need to go to FPV Wiki, because that's probably the best way for me to explain this. If we have a look, first of all, at DJI, because DJI is probably the simpler way to start. And if we look at the original air unit is probably a good place to start. So originally, DJI's products consisted as follows. You had the P1 chipset here. So the P1 is the main SoC. Has some ARM cores. It has the DSP for the RF system, and it has a number of different ARM cores, number of sections. You've got your OS level, so think of it like your main CPU in one part of it. Then it has the DSP for the RF side of it, the LTE baseband, and all of that in the other part of it, all in one chip. All of the software runs on this chip. So in the V2 goggles, as an example, the OS runs on this chip as well as all of the RF stuff as well. You've then got RAM and ROM. There's an AND. And then, if we go backwards, have your transceiver at the front end. So this has the operating system, the LTE baseband and everything in it, which then connects to the RF transceiver at the front end. This actually generates the RF signal, not the waveform, but the actual, 5.8 gigs, whatever. Spits it out into our power amplifiers, 1 and 2, out to our antennas. Now, I've always said it's quite interesting on the original FPV VTX that it was actually designed to be dual band. Whilst it was only 5 gigs, it was designed to be 5 gigs or 2.4. That's why these areas are unpopulated. This is the 5 gig section. When we have a look at O3 in a minute, you'll actually see this populated because not quite the same design, but especially in the goggles, it's populated. But in essence, in DJI, You had originally your main OS on the P1. If you drew a line down the middle of this and then you went RF baseband, DSP, and then RF mux at the front end, generates the RF signal, spits it out the power amplifiers and out. So this was a 2-chip solution back then with DJI. We then moved to O3, and what DJI basically did with O3 was fairly straightforward. What DJI changed was they offloaded the video processing. So we still have the P1. You still have that there. It's still the same chip. However, basically, DJI stopped using the main cores in this to do the video processing. Yes, there's software in there, but in essence, what they did is added an external graphics card. It's the simplest way to think about this is they bolted on an external GPU, and that is the E3T. And the E3T handles all the video processing, the encoding, and the OS. So all of that runs on there. It's in itself a much more powerful SoC that handles the video image processing. Then the P1 basically acted like a modem. It's the simplest term. That then acted like a modem, using the DSPs, using the baseband, and then that goes again out to the IE1000, down to the power amplifiers, and spits it out. So DJI moved from a 2-chip solution to a 3-chip solution. What was interesting in this is DJI sort of relegated the P1 to just being a modem, but it still has those ARM cores in there. I'm not going to say they weren't used, because that's probably not the right term, but they weren't needed is the correct term to use. So you had this SoC with ARM cores, licensing, and size that was unneeded. So what DJI did in O4 is, instead of the P1, it's now been replaced with what we call the S2, which is this chip here. And the essence are, DJI got rid of the ARM cores and made some upgrades to the DSP and the RF baseband. It's not the same one that's in the P1. It does higher bandwidth, more antenna lanes, but they redesigned it, got rid of the big ARM cores that we don't need, and basically it's a dedicated modem now, is the simple term to use. It's just a dedicated modem. This is still the E3T. It's labeled differently, but it's still the E3T. That connects to the P1. P1 just a modem. Then, if we go down, we will find the IE2000 here, 1000 here somewhere. It's in there, I suspect, on the... Is it on there, or is it on the top end? Have I missed it? Yeah, we suspect the IE1000 is in there with the power amplifier, and that's it. All done. When we look at this on the Avata 2, it's a little bit easier to see, because if we go to the main board, what you have is your E3T, your S2, and then if we go to the other side of the PCB, which is this one there, you can now see there's 2 IE1000s because it's dual band, but they still have to have that IE1000 chipset. So DJI 3 chipsets, main SoC, main baseband modem, mixer, RF, out to power amplifiers. Avatar actually works very similar to what DJI actually did with the P1. The Artisan chipset, if we go back to Cadex, actually works very, very similar. If we go to the HDVATX, and if we look, and what you now have is as follows. Basically, their main chipset, which is this one here, Like we had in the original ear unit, it has the main cores on board, has the DSP and baseband. And then you got your MUX, which they've labeled IE2000. It's not, but that's what they've called it. And then it's out the door. So Cadex's design is more like the original FPV system. This chip is a bit more powerful than the P1. It's not quite as powerful as the the Eagle 3 and DJI O3. It sits somewhere in the middle, is the correct term. So Cadex has a 2-chip solution. Now, this is based on Artisan. That we all know already. We've actually got stuff around that here. There's a link to this under the DJI section, which we talk about digital FPV history, and we go down about it, and we get down to the Artisan chip there. So we know what it is, we know what it looks like, so and so. Artisan, though, have a new chip, and they've actually taken a step out of DJI's book, because it looks like they've gone down this road of take out the ARM cores, we're going to give you a new RF front-end MUX-only chip. And this has turned up, and I didn't find this, congratulations to the guy who did, I'm not going to say the name, in this drone here called the Atom 2 with an 8K camera. Now, this is just hitting the market from the look of it. There are many aspects about this that look very DJI as well, I have to say. However, this drone that's just hitting the market has this new Cadex chip. If we go into the FCC documentation, it's actually quite interesting when you look down in this. This looks a lot like DJI inside. It's not. But what the really interesting thing is in this image down here. Not this side. This side. And this, it has the new Artisan chip, which is that one there. Now, what is very interesting about this is, yes, it goes down the road of DJI of separating off the RF baseband from the main SoC. Basically, their equivalent of the S2. However, they have taken things a step further and notice that there is no MUX chip. The IE1000, or what Cadex called the IE2000. DJI still need that IE2000 in their stuff. So when we go to, let me just get the best image to show you this on the Avata 2. DJI still need this chip. However, Artisan doesn't. They have integrated it inside, which now means you could potentially, with this, make a smaller VTX solution. You still need a separate SoC with it to run the OS. You have to run the OS on something. But this would save the need for the IE1000 or the IE2000. So Artisan, you could basically, instead of going from a 2-chip to a 3-chip solution, you could actually stay at a 2-chip solution because you're decoupling the RF from the SoC, and there is no need for that separate IE1000 or 2000 on the front end, which in Cadex's case is a Artisan chip anyway. So it is incredibly interesting. They also have a remote controller, which I think looks a lot like DJI, I'll be honest. This is the external photos of this thing. It really does look very DJI. It's not DJI, but someone is definitely up in there. Their design chops, that's for sure. And when you look inside it, again, in this here, we have the chipset. It's the AR803292. The design on this It doesn't look like DJI's, but I do wonder if these guys have got hold of some of their engineers. When I saw this, I did wonder how much of this. But what's interesting is the chip. This is the first time that we have seen something new from Artisan. This lays the path for something new. Something entirely new. The question is, will anyone do it? I don't know. That's the truth. We just don't know. But this is quite impressive in itself. We don't know the full specs, though. That's the only thing. We don't know the bandwidth. We don't know. I'm not saying it can do 60 megabits a second like DJI. We don't know. Because it's very new. But it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. And they've got it coupled here to a Winbond chip, not SRAM, which is also interesting. Because usually you'd have it coupled to a NAND, a combined NAND and NOM. This opens a lot of possibility. It really does open a lot of possibilities. Now, in this drone, it's being used for Wi-Fi. They're calling it custom Wi-Fi. Look, it's an SDR. It can do what it wants. It's not a problem. It's not a Wi-Fi chip. It's an SDR. They're calling it custom Wi-Fi. But, yeah, this has some very cool potential. I'm not saying you can save a huge amount of space. But something to note, and actually on say, the Avatar side, you know, you could definitely cut size down on this. But this is the drone. This is what it is. 249 grams, 10 kilometers. PicSync 4.0 video transmission. They're calling it PicSync. It's 2.4 gigs on this. Where's version 1 and 3? They did have earlier drones. They did have earlier drones that were Wi-Fi based. But yeah. It's available on Amazon now, this thing is. It is out there. Atom 2 drone. I don't know what the camera's like, right? But I have to say, everything else looks fairly decent. Amazon UK. In stock. I can get this for £400 tomorrow. I can get it for $299 in the standard kit. I don't intend to, but I can. A lot of the magic, 100%. A lot of the magic behind DJI is software, yeah. It's just incredibly interesting that we now have, this is the beginning of potentially something cool and new. And thank you to the guys who shared this with me earlier. I do appreciate it. I didn't find this. We knew it was around, and there was a suspicion this was the chip in T3. Almost a hope that this was the chip in T3. But it didn't turn in. No, there's very little on the camera sensor. If you look at this board, though, I will say this, okay? Let me show you this. This looks a lot like DJI. It's not DJI. I'm not saying it is. But I have to say, and I also noticed this, I had a look through the FCC filings on their earlier drones, and they have taken a big step up in this design compared to the previous ones. I can't work out what this SoC is, the main one. I don't know what they're running. This looks to be VTQM0BR. is what that looked like to me, but I don't know what it is. But I do wonder if these guys have borrowed a few members of staff from DJI, or it's ex-DJI staff even. I wouldn't be shocked. DJI is such a big company. The movement of people through there will be huge. If you showed me this and said, this is a board off DJI's next, I don't know, budget drone, I wouldn't have actually been that shocked. Because DJI do sometimes use outside chipsets for their budget products. It might have been cheaper for DJI to buy this than make the S2 in some ways. But yeah, I wouldn't. If you said to me, "Oh, this is DJI," you know, they've released a, I don't know, a mini basic, and this was the core board, I'd sort of go, meh. Ah, one of the first drones, the Ponsat. What was it like? BMF Spade FPV. What was it like? Yeah, I just think that there are design cues on this that remind me of DJI. I need to figure out what that IC is, though. So, that's that. Next, we're going to just quickly talk about tariffs. Now, this week you are starting to see more and more brands and people basically say they're not shipping to the US. It is what is happening right now. For instance, this happened last week, but I didn't have it on last week's stream with basically SpeedyBee are cancelling orders. They're not even taking orders. They're just cancelling it. I saw this on Facebook. This was a person who placed an order. They're just cancelling it. I've seen this happening across the board. There has even been US retailers cancelling orders for products that they say they've got in stock at old pricing. I think that's... I saw one post about that, and there was a suspicion that the retailer had cancelled it based on the fact that they could probably sell it for higher. That's shitty. We're not... You know, look, we've got a bit of time before the tariffs kick in, so we're not there yet. But basically right now, the price of everything is either going up or they're no longer willing to ship it. I'm not sure what we can say until we get to tariffs. I'll be honest with you. We've now got to wait and get to tariffs. That's all we can do. We can't do anything until we get to them actually happening, because everything to this point is talk, and talk. Now we've got to wait for it to actually happen and see what the effect of that is, how long it lasts. I'm not convinced this will be happening forever. I think there will be movement. I think it's going to happen. I don't think mentioned last week, DJI removes enterprise drones, and their battery pricing has also gone through the roof as well. So I'm not convinced it's all going to happen. Let's wait and see. But you are seeing manufacturers cancel orders. I have a feeling a lot of this will be pulled back. But wait and see, you know. That's all we can do, guys. None of us really understand the situation. What I will say is, if this does happen, it's going to have an effect on product releases. It's going to make everything a lot more difficult. That's for sure. Okay, before we get to the question bit, I got two more bits to get through. Makera have sent me one of these to have a look at, the Makera Air. Now, I am still on the hunt for the Holy Grail, the product that allows me to make frames that doesn't take up the entire workshop, that won't try to kill me, and the software actually does what I need it to do. I tried with the Snapmaker, and I've still struggled and given up a minute. The hardware is amazing. The software on the CNC side is junk. But more than that, it has custom G-code, and it's very difficult to use with other software, and I have just found it impossible. The Cavera A is a hell of a piece of kit. This is the heaviest thing I have ever had in my life. Honestly, the size and weight on this thing is insane. It's not big, but the weight of it is nuts. Nuts, nuts, nuts. But yeah, I'm looking forward to testing it. It's only just come in. I got it set up today. I haven't even done a carve yet. It does apparently work with VCarve as well. I want to try their software. I have actually had a look at their software, and it has some limitations, which isn't good. But I also believe it works for VCarve. And I want to be able to make a frame. I want to be able to CNC my own FPV frame. And I am still struggling to get to that point. But this is what we're going to take a look at. Very interesting. That infamous CNC as easy to use as a 3D printer. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I've been trying to get to. We're not there yet, but this does seem close. Don't worry, the carbon fiber dust will kill me if the machine doesn't. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it looks... Look, it's the closest I've come. It's enclosed, which is nice. You can have a vacuum on it, which I'm hoping to have as well. I haven't got that. I'm going to 3D print to fit in for a vacuum. But we continue the hunt. We continue the hunt. If you've got any questions, now's the time to put them in the chat, and I will try and answer them. And then I will talk about my... with the carbon filter. Yes. Carbon is the problem because the dust goes everywhere. But I could... I'm going to have a look about having a CNC tray for the carbon. Whether I can do it in like a water tray. This also does there's some cool stuff with PCB on this as well. I think I've talked about Walk Snail a bit tonight. If you want me to talk about CADX, not at the moment. Not until I understand what the situation is. Look, when it comes to this week in the videos, there's a lot I want to say. None of it I will be crystal clear. Not one element of it am I retracting, but I want to understand after long discussions back and forth where we end up. Stepcraft CNC has a water bath for this, for the Makira. Do they have it for the air? There's a lot I want to say, but I can't until this all gets sorted out. I'm amazed it isn't a green screen. This is a green screen today, but this isn't my normal one. It's my screen, but not the normal green screen. This is a green screen of my real background. Is what that is. It's a green screen of the real background, which we can turn off. I think we're probably at the point where we can shut it down now. There we go. NVIDIA broadcast works really well, actually. So, yeah. Any questions, guys? Put them in the chat now, and I'll try and answer them. Ah, it's a different company. They sell Million Bath for their D series. Yeah, look, I need a Million Bath for... yeah, the reality of the mess behind me sets in. I'm so far behind on stuff. It's just crazy. The bench is just a tip at the moment. FPV Gizmo, not as far as I'm aware. I don't believe it does as far as I've seen. Have DJI replied to acknowledge the 15 megabits issue? Not to me. Apparently they have... Let me just put that a bit further down. Apparently they have to users who've mentioned it on DJI forum, but that place is a wild, wild west in itself. So, I'm not sure. I want to build a 3 or a 3 or 5 inch freestyler with O4 Pro. Go for Ross's frame. I like Ross's frames. Ross's frames are always really good. Sorry, I was having to duck my head. That hurt. Would love to see some videos on Meshtastic. Andy's done the best ones on them. There's probably no point. It's very little point me covering Meshtastic. I have had play with it. I've tried it. No one has it round by me, so it doesn't work. Andy Kirby is the guy for that. He has done an amazing job on Meshtastic. So so should take the background photo with the camera in the correct position in manual to focus to get matched perfectly. Yes. Yes. Look, I'm not a big crasher of frames. Has Ross's frames got any stronger? I wouldn't call them the biggest bashers. No. I don't think they're the biggest bashers out there. They're great flying frames. Flyfish Volador? Yeah, not tried the 3.5 inch. The only complaint with the Flyfish, though, is the aluminium front end was bending in. Did they ever fix that? A lot of people were complaining on the early frames because it had this CNC cutout on the full size. And I really like this frame. I have one. They sent it to me. It's a great frame. But this here, so see this area here, that bends in even in a small crash. Do they fix the crumple zone? I can't see on this image. It's not on this image, but with O4 plates. Okay. Yeah. The crumple zone was a bit of an issue on the early one. Yeah, that looks nice. Definitely worth a look. Any questions? Please do let me know. Some stuff, just so I can tell you about, which will be coming up. It's going to be about 2 weeks, though. I finally have this. I finally have the board cover for the O4 Lite, which is from Axis Flying. So I finally am able to take a look at this. It took forever to come. So if I just open the box and I'll show it to you. Inside you get some CNC covers. So that's the top of it. There. And then that's the inside. Oh, God. It's auto-tracking my face. Come on, Sony. Enough. There you go. So that's what it looks on the inside. Very clean. I don't think a CNC made this. I think this is... I don't know. It might be CNC, but it's very clean. And then you have the other bit with Axis Flying on. Come on, Sony. Thank you. And then you have that there. They do include some thermal gunk in the box as well, which is nice to see. And I also then have the camera protector for it too. I'm just boxing it back up because I'm going to need to. I haven't even opened this yet. So this is the camera protection. Just getting into it. So there it is. Look at that. Little CNC case for the camera. Max is flying. Come on. Wish I had my overhead. Can't put it in front of my head. That'll do. I give up on that. It's called Pimp My O4 Lite. Yes, that's for sure. It offers more protection. Does it stop the camera disassembling itself? I highly doubt it. But we're going to be testing that because we can. So that finally arrived. And most of my battery stuff has arrived now as well. So my mass rolls of heat shrink, haven't even opened these yet. All of my rolls of heat shrink have arrived. I ordered lots of different sizes. That was like $10 for all of that. It wasn't even that, I don't think. Got my battery rack. I just need to get some of the copper now. And then we'll be ready to do that. And then we've got a couple of new frames to talk about. The new ELRS from T3 FPV. For those who haven't seen, they've got a new era DJI O4 and they've got a new era DC, which we're going to talk about as well. I think the Sony Z, it does have a showcase mode. Yes, it does. I think I've changed the button on it when I programmed it for live mode. It's not a bad little camera, the ZV-1, I have to say. So, yeah, not bad. Right, guys, the last subject. Okay. The last... No, let's start this differently. I have always tried to stand up for what I feel is right on this channel, and that is what I feel is right for the consumer, what I feel is right for the community, and I hate using the word community because, like, I'm not the community. What is the community? Creators bang this term around, the community. What is the community? But look, I am a person that says how I feel, what I think is right, and it always, regardless of what people think, there is no intent against any specific brand. There is no intent against any specific people. I just say what I think sometimes. JB said something interesting the other day, which was sometimes he goes off half-cocked. And I don't think he's wrong in that. What you get from me is a raw emotion sometimes of how I feel. That will get me into trouble and has got me into trouble more than once. It's got me into trouble with... what was I going to say? It's got me into trouble with a few people, to say the least. But it never comes from a place of hate, and it's always, always what I think is the right thing. And on this channel, we've always discussed both the product, but also the business, the company, the people. I try to keep it away from people. I have failed once and twice on that, genuinely, and where I did, I issued an apology, and the last time I did that was to the Rotor Riot guys, because I did something wrong there. I mixed up the Rotoraya business with the people and the pilots, and I should never have done that. That was absolutely an error, and I apologized. I released a video saying so, because when I get it wrong, unlike most people, I will hold my hands up. I will say I got that wrong. I did it for Skyzo when I made a mistake, and I did it for the Rotor Riot team because I was wrong. But I've always tried to make sure we cover everything. It's not always just about the product. It's about the company at times as well. But I am getting to the stage of I can't keep doing this on my own. I can't keep being the person that takes all of the fire, because that is where I'm at right now. I say what I feel is right, and I'm not sitting here saying I expect other creators to. I'm not criticizing other creators for what they do. But I can't keep being the person who is the only one saying this at times. And I'm not always that. That's just the truth. And it's taking its toll on me, and it's taking its toll on the channel. And the consumer advocacy stuff, which I will label it as, is really important to me. But I can't end up in court over some of this stuff, even if I'm right. I just can't. I don't have the money to fund that. I don't have the will to fund that. And I don't have the time. And when a company does a shitty thing, two weeks ago, I called out the store for doing what I thought was shitty. I just thought it was shitty, and I said what I thought. And I took the fire on that. And then we've got the recent thing, which I seem to be taking all of the blame. Yet, I was not the first person to do this. I was simply covering a different story and another story. And I can't keep being the only one, because I'm being the sole butterfly in a freaking storm. In the end, you're going to get swept away. And that's just the reality. So, for at least the foreseeable future, I'm going to be keeping away, and we're going to be talking about product. I'm not going to be covering issues where a brand, a company, a business, a retailer has done something. And I'm going to fall into a trap here, because I've just said I'm not going to do something, but I'll end up saying something on a live stream or something else. But it's time for someone else to raise the flag, because I'm going to be honest. I think I've done more on this side of it than most. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I want other people to do more, but I'm feeling the toll of it. And frankly, it's getting to the point where if it carries on like it's been this week, I'll have to just stop, because it's I can't keep taking the beatings even when I'm right. And, you know, sometimes being right and doing the right thing is hard. And that is what it is. But look, the channel isn't going anywhere. Well, as far as I know at this moment in time, unless something changes. But what I am going to do is keep away from brand, company, retailer-specific behavior. I'm going to stick to the product, and let's see where we go with that. Let's even see if I can, because I'm trying to impose something on myself that I just don't know even if I can, because I do find it very hard not to call out bullshit and not to call out bad behavior. And I don't always get it right. And I'm not saying I haven't, because if I can tell you now, if I haven't got something right, you will have an apology video, because I'm not afraid to do that. Because you've got to have it both ways. But whatever happens, look, what I'm going to try and do is steer away from, probably the right term is the politics of it all. For a while. Until I don't. And let's even see if I can. But, yeah. So, look, it's time for someone else to be the guy calling them out. I'm not saying I won't highlight it like I have this week, because remember, I wasn't the guy who highlighted it called it out this week. I highlighted it. I wasn't the person who dropped the story. Yet I seem to have been the one who got his head blown off. But that is what it is. So we're gonna have to wait and see. Obviously, look, from a product perspective, we've got a new system from Cadex. When I buy it, I will talk about it. It will be on my list to purchase as soon as it comes out. When anything else comes, you know, I've got the T3 coming. I'm looking forward to that. Something new. I've got the Open IPC stuff to finish. We've got a lot to do. And we're heading towards summer. And I think what I need to do is concentrate on the product and not the politics this summer. And I think that'll put us all in a better place. I just want to say one final thing. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone for the messages this week, the support. Look, I'm always going to be the bad guy for something. I'm always going to be the bad guy in someone's eyes for saying the right thing. And as I've said, maybe nothing will change, because I don't know even if I can. But for now, I want to let the bad side go away for a bit, and let's get flying. I haven't flown enough. We need to get flying. We need to see Andy RC flying more. That's for sure. More videos, Andy. I think you should try O4. The offer's still here, my friend. Horrific in the heat. It's insulated, but it stays hot. I'm not going to BS, that's for sure. It's not going to change. What I'm probably just not going to do is quite what I did this week or have done recently with some of it. I want to let the heat settle down for a bit and see what happens. Get back onto the tech. And make sure Andy RC starts posting videos again. Otherwise, I'm going to start sending him copies of 80s and 70s porn. A copy of Razzle will be on your way if you don't get a video out this week. And you won't find anything shaved in there. Yes. So, look. That's what I'm going to try and do. But let's wait and see. Right, guys. let's wrap this one up. Thank you all for time. We'll be back on the usual setup next week. Don't worry. Hopefully it wasn't too horrific. We got through it. It works. What it does mean is I've got a backup, and that's why I wanted to use this tonight. Someone says JB's got a new camera, so do I need to go and watch his live stream now to go and look at his new camera? Does he know what camera JB's bought? Can anyone tell me what camera JB's got before I go? If he's bought an A7S4, I'm going to tell him to fuck off. If he's bought an A7S4 with something like a nice prime FX30, what's an FX30? That's a Sony, isn't it? An FX30? FX30. What's that? Was that the Panasonic? It is a Sony. FX30. Okay. FX30? All right. He's bought 2 FX30s for making content. Or is he flying with these? Cine mount, okay. Live stream cam. Jesus, that's a hell of a cam for a live stream. What's the spec on the FX30? I don't know the FX30 particularly well. It's E-mount, obviously. So is this the same sensor as... Let's have a look. It's APS-C. Okay. I think it matches his off-stream camera. Okay, so it's APS-C. What megapixel sensor is that? See, I use all Panasonics. This is Sony. I've got an A6400 over there, which I basically don't use anymore. No, Sony's I'm not a big fan of, I'll be honest. The price of E-mount glass is just horrific, is why. So I'm a Panasonic guy, so everything I use here is Lumix. But look, you don't grade in this world. I ain't doing grading. So I got an S5 over there. That's my S5. There's a GH5 on the overhead, and there's a G9 on my main camera. But I like MFT, and I tell you why I like MFT. It's cheap glass, and it's a good camera. And I do like MFT. The only downside to MFT is crop factor, because obviously you have a crop factor on MFT as a result of not being full frame. But he's going to have a crop factor on APS-C anyway. What's the crop factor on APS-C? Is it 1.3? I think it's 1.6 on... I don't use autofocus. I don't use autofocus. Yeah, it's 1.6 on APS-C, Sony. 1.5 or 1.6. Or is it 2.1? It's been a while since I've looked at what the crop factor is. Or is it 2.1 on it on Pani? Yeah, we all know about the Panas. Don't even go there about phase shift versus thing autofocus. But it's a nice camera. It's a nice body. I'm going to say that. I wonder what he's paid it to glass-wise. Anyone know? If he's got sense, he'd use the Sigma. I think, yes, Andy, I think it is 2. It's 2 or 2.1. So it gets a bit annoying when look, 15 mil on a MFT is more like 21, I think, or 22 off the top of my head. Nice camera though. How much are they in the UK? $2,000. Oh, if I was to replace my main cameras now, I'd get a pair of used S5s. I've got one S5, and you've got the S5 Mark II now. That's full frame. That is going to be a lovely camera on the live stream. I've used it on the live stream, and it is on video, and it is lovely. I would probably, if I swap mine out now, I would get a pair of good used S5s. I wouldn't even go S5 Mark IIs. You don't need the Mark II for live streaming. The Mark 1s will be fine. I would go to S5 Mark IIs. Get a lot more light in. But again, glass is the expense. Glass is the issue. Nice camera, though. Very nice indeed. JB splashing the cash. It's all that DJI kickback money, innit? I said I was going to say things to get me in trouble anymore. Joking. No, that's nice. Look, I would love an A7. Sony makes some amazing cameras. Tamron Vilrox, yeah, much Sigma, pretty good on the Sonys. The problem with E-mount glass is the freaking price is horrific. That's the problem with E-mount glass. If we, oh, look, I'm covered. I don't like that. Where's broadcast? Let me just turn back on virtual background a minute. Let me just do that. There you go. If we go to Wax, we got a Wax, Sony mirrorless. Let's get up the range a little bit. A400, A660. Here's a question. I need to look then. The A400A. So what is that giving us that the A4s, the A660s can't? So how much is that in the UK now? Let's find that body. An A7C is... trying to find it in the UK. How much is it? Can't see it. Yeah, you got an A660 or A6400 around that money. A7R3 body only. A7R3A. Okay. See, I would go Panasonic again. FX cameras on there, yeah. I know the FX are the Pro range, but I would go mirrorless. Let's go for Panasonic. They probably don't have the S5R. S9 would probably be worth a look. It's only $1,000. S5 II is $1,599, but you could get good. How much is a good used, right? S5, because that is it's a phenomenal live streaming camera. Panasonic, any S5s? S5. Ho 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 ho. 600-700 quid for an S5. I'm even tempted. But see, for the live streaming, why get it new? Being the one-man man, I always struggle to get the GH5 to autofocus. I sold it. Yeah, it's not great for autofocus. For the studio, I don't autofocus. Everything's pre-focused. I wish the frickin' Panasonic lenses wouldn't, with the synchronous motors, wouldn't change every time you turn the fucking thing on. But that's a different problem altogether. Hello, Pablo. Thank you for that. Like, I would love to go Sony. I just couldn't afford the glass. How much is... So, if we went for... See, now I'm intrigued. Now I've been caught. So if I wanted to get something like... Because I know the A7 is a big camera people like. Price A7 III is what? Wow, A7 III is only 1.1... What about A7 IV? 2.1. God, do you know what? Look at the price difference between the A7 III and the A7. It is old, but it's a phenomenal camera. The 3 will do. A7 III. That's a lot of camera for the money. A lot of... Yeah, but remember, the A7S... Yes, they're better for video because it has the same, usually lower meg. It's the same issue with the Panasonic. You go for a lower megapixel sensor, but bigger pixels, so they're better for video. But I do know the A7 III or the A7S. The A7S III is phenomenal, but it's crazy money. If you really want to go, they go A9, but... I've lost track of the current. What's the crack with all of these? A7R, IVA. What's the... That's 42 megapixel, 1500. A7R 3A. Okay. Hello. See, the thing is, you don't need the freaking... Yeah, because they're 42 megapixels on the R. What's the A7C? Oh, that's the cheaper one, isn't it? A7C2. Yeah. A7CR. You know. That's a lot of camera for the money. Yes, they will overheat. FX6. A7 III, I know, has always been a phenomenal camera. Or the A7 IV. Cool. You wouldn't want to buy that without the kit lens. You may as well get that with the kit lens. Look, 2149. You're paying 150 quid for the kit lens. It's full frame, isn't it? 33 megapixel full frame. Yeah, okay. Ah, you got cash back on that. What about body only? Save the 150 quid. Add to basket. And then we want E-mount. We want mirrorless. E-mount. We want a prime. It's not going to be a video prime. You want a standard prime. Probably I would need 20 mil. I got a 15 here on MFT. 20 mil. 20 mil probably wouldn't get me far off. Any 20s? Come on. No 20, nothing in the 20 band. Well, that's annoying. That's really annoying. I know, more here. It's only 20 mil G1.8. Yeah, well, standard prime. Let me go down. What have they got them under? Might be a video prime, is it? Oh, God, look at all the primes. Wide angle prime. I don't want super wide. No, that's too wide. God, give me... $18, $20. What are the other options? Sigma. No. Ooh, here we go. What's this? Sigma 20F2. It's quite fast. Not as fast as I'd like. But it should still be fast. F2 is still fast, though. I'd like F1 something. There you go. F1.4. Ho, 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 ho. That's fast class. Tony 2. Tony 1.4. Has to be Tony 1.4. At least Tony 1.4. If my ears aren't out of focus, it's not good enough. You're talking 800-900 quid on glass. I bet that's a nice lens. Yeah, you're always talking $1,000 for glass. That's the problem. I spent fucking 1,400 quid on the glass on the S5. That's why I'd like to stay to Panasonic, because I bought expensive glass. That's a nice lens. That's E-mount, isn't it? This one's not for full frame, though. Oh, is this not for full? It's E. It should be full frame if it's E in it. I thought that was. I thought E was full frame on Sony. Oh, FE, yes, right. Sorry, it's been a while. Yes, so we need FE, don't we? Not E-mount. Me being an idiot. Me being an idiot. Mirrorless lenses. Not Sony E. I want Sony FE. There's only one Sony FE mount. It's been a while. It has been a while since I've looked at Sony. Genuinely, it has been a while. What's the price on a piece of silly price Sony glass? Sony. And I want it. Let's try the 24. Any primes down at 24? Oh, there's a prime. G-Master. F1.4 G-Master. That'll be a nice lens. That'll be a very nice lens. 1,200 quid. Oof. That will be nice. Sigma Art in the 24. Yeah, you're probably right. Oh, Sigma DNR 819. There you go. Yes, there you are. 819. Yeah, I'm probably closer to 30, not 20, but I wouldn't mind it a bit wider. Probably all right, though, yeah. Closer to 24, 30, somewhere around that. I've got some movement option. I think crop factor is 2.1, if I'm right. MFT crop factor. I thought it was 2.1. I got a number in my head. Yeah, oh, 2.0. No, I'm wrong. Andy's right. That looks a nice lens for the money. DC is DG or DG, DGDN. What else we got on their size in? Let's have a look. So if we go Sigma, Sony E-mount, If we look at Sigma, Sony E mount, and then we go, we want 24 and maybe a bit. Let's see what else we've got. 28. Ooh, nice 28 there. What's the 28? That'll be close. Is the DGDN full frame? DG is full frame. Okay, because I don't know the Sigma stuff. Does it say it in here? Ah, full frame shooters. Yes. There you go. That'll be the lens. A7 III with that lens. That would be my choice. If I was going to do it, A7 III with that lens. I reckon an A7 III would look nice. So let's have a look then. Before we go, let's go to YouTube. Was this Bardwell streaming today then? So I need to expect... Joshua Bardwell. Not Bardwell, we want Bardfell. Joshua Bardfell. Bardfell. Joshua Bardfell. 12 days ago. When's this video with him talking about the cameras? When was this? When was this? I thought it was now. When was this? Is this video filmed on his new camera? Oh, yeah. He's got Tony there. He's got a lot of Tony there. Like, real Tony. Looks actually quite soft. I haven't watched, actually, his... He's got proper YouTuber focus. If anyone hasn't seen this, and you don't know what we're talking about, if you haven't seen... If you haven't seen... This is one of the best videos that there has ever been. And for those who don't know, this is about Tony Northrup, okay, who's a camera guy.
Hey, Tony. It's just us, your family. We all care about you. We just want to see what's best for you. We think you've taken it too far with the bokeh. I know it's fun. It's fun. Let's admit it. I'm doing it right now, but you're taking it too far? It hurts. It's hurting us. Oh no, Tony. Not your family. Oh God. Why'd you turn your family into bokeh, Tony? How could you, Tony? How could you? So in today's video, we help Tony Northrup up from the dark path that he's on, and in the spirit of love, I'll be the first one to stop down. Let's stop down together, Tony. We're going 2.8 on a Micro Four Thirds. That's f59. Oh, you can see everything back there. Oh, that hurts the nervous system.
All I want is the perfect camera.
I appreciate their honesty. I know they get a lot of comments saying, oh, you're a shill for Canon. Oh, you're a Sony shill now. No, Nikon now. You're a shill. Tony just uploaded a video equivalent to what I can only imagine as being bitten by red ants and red sharks at the same time. It actually hurt me to watch. It was filmed on the Canon EOS R with that 50mm f1.2. It hurt my soul seeing it. I was like, what's happening? Did the Panasonic autofocus system keep up with the ES? Of course it did.
4 years ago, I stood on this very beach and told you all the reasons you should switch to filming in 4K.
Why are you creep walking up on me? You want a date? Just ask. I hate your autofocus walk. That's the only reason you did it. You're just the only reason. Panasonic actually can't track you if you ghost. It's tracking.
Chelsea and I started the channel in 2011, filming with the mother of all DSLR video, the Canon 5D Mark II.
That's actually not true, Tony. The Canon 5D Mark II was invented by Nikon in 1941. They actually beat Canon to it. Canon actually had to buy the name back from Nikon because they got it first. Oh no, my app. Why'd you bring us to a lake and hide it? Where is it? I want to see the lake, Tony. Let me at the lake. Come on. I deserve it. I'll eat my vegetables. Just let me go to the lake. I want to see it. Where are you? It looks so beautiful. And I can't.
Any 4K camera.
Is one of your tricks this? Where you disappear from the shot? Why aren't you in the shot, Tony? Your head's gone. I want to see your hat. What if I want to buy that hat? How am I going to see it to know?
This video is pure class. When you
there's
get
a
through
limit.
the whole thing.
There's a limit to the third system as we know it.
At the end, I think is the best.
Come on, Tony, it's not so bad. This is fine. It's a good shot. Cinematic. Apparently. Oh boy.
If you don't,
So what do you think? Has
if you
Tony
haven't
lost
seen
his
this
mind?
channel, it
Is
is
bokeh addiction
well
a real thing in 2020?
look.
Let us know down below. And thank you for buying a Camera Conspiracies t-shirt. Subscribe
There's a
for more
point
videos
where
and we'll see you in the next one.
He tries to. Yeah, it is a real piece of class. One of the best pieces of content I'd seen in years. Honestly, it was so funny. Right, that's it. We're done. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Let me find the button. We'll speak to you soon.